Captain Miriam Reyes stood on the cramped bridge of her aging vessel, the Defiant Dawn, and watched the swirling tendrils of interstellar dust slide past the forward view screen. Sensors displayed a cobalt-new haze, hugging the horizon of a desolate star system. Nothing about this region seemed welcoming or even safe. Yet her orders had been specific. Enter the forbidden sector. Return with whatever answers might lie within the region. No one dared to explain. The command weighed heavily on her. The war was entering its 20th year, or so the official record said. She suspected it had been longer. Maybe the conflict felt eternal to her because she had grown up in its shadow. Humanity had seen nations unite behind a single banner for survival, forging an alliance that stretched from Earth to the Martian colonies and beyond. The unstoppable tide of conflict was with an alien adversary known simply as the Zondar. Strange. Advanced and fiercely territorial, the Zondar had every advantage except one. They seemed incapable of understanding human unpredictability and determination. Still, that was a meager advantage at best. Now, entire fleets, countless resources, and thousands of hopeful attempts had failed to bring about a ceasefire. The war was said to be unwinnable, with each side locked in a rapidly escalating arms race. Yet here she was, guiding the lonely Defiant Dawn, a small, agile corvette, into uncharted, interdicted space. Officially, every star map marked the region as restricted. Rumors circulated of cosmic anomalies, Zondar dreadnoughts, or worse, lurking beyond the charts. But intelligence analyses suggested something else. An ancient relic, or technology so potent it might finally deliver humanity an upper hand. Maybe it would force the Zondar to the negotiation table. For that tiny spark of hope, every seat on the Corvette had been filled with a specialized crew absolutely loyal to the mission. Approaching the boundary, Officer Malik said quietly from the navigation station. She was new to the ship, a rising star among a fresh cadre of navigators. Her eyes flicked to the sensor readouts. Captain, I'm picking up a gravitational anomaly. If we stay on the current heading, we may have to make micro-adjustments to remain stable. Commander Tiernan, the first officer, nodded from beside her. He was an older man who had seen his share of engagements. His silvered hair contrasted with the crisp lines of his Navy mule uniform. Adjust speed and rotation. We don't want to rattle ourselves before we even see what lies in there. Captain Reyes felt a knot in her stomach. Proceed, she said. Keep a safe margin of thrust in case we need to pivot out of here fast. The Corvette's engines vibrated softly as Malik executed the coordinates, easing the vessel across the invisible perimeter of the forbidden sector. Across the cramped hull, systems hummed in uneasy harmony. The hush blanketing the crew spoke volumes about the gravity of their mission. They were searching for something that might not exist. Or if it did exist, it could be lethal. Ancient star maps had labeled this region a cosmic dead zone, implying that any vessel venturing inside never returned. Some said the sector was haunted by echoes of the galaxy's distant past, where elder civilizations had vanished. Others said Zondar's superweapons had been tested here. Reyes' gaze fell upon the photograph taped beside her command console, a picture of her spouse and young daughter back at the frontier colony. The war had sent them scattering for safety. She prayed this mission would help create a future free from fear. Bridge to engineering, Tiernan called. Status on the reactor. Chief Engineer Casperson's voice crackled over the Holding steady, Commander. The quantum coil is stable, though the background radiation is off the charts. We'll keep an eye on it. Keep me updated. Bridge out, Tiernan replied. They pressed deeper into the dust-laden region, scanning each new corner of space with a mixture of dread and awe. The swirling cosmic clouds muffled the stars so thoroughly that outside starlight became faint. The Defiant Dawn relied almost entirely on sensors. Each kilometer traveled felt incremental, pushing them farther from known territory and possibly into the jaws of danger. Captain, said Lieutenant Okoro, the communications officer, I'm detecting faint signals, but it might be interference from the ionized dust. Trying to clean it up, but no success so far. Keep trying, Lieutenant, Reyes said, leaning forward in her seat. We'll need any clue we can get. Time stretched on, with the Corvette slicing deeper into the murk. The ship's powerful floodlights pierced the haze, revealing ghostly shapes that might have been asteroids or drifting debris. Then, unexpectedly, the sensors flared. Malik froze, eyes wide. Captain, there's a structure up ahead. I'm reading artificial hull plating. It's big. Immediately, Reyes felt her pulse spike. Scale? 2 kilometers across, maybe more. A derelict station? Tiernan asked, leaning over Malik's station for a better look. Possibly, Malik said, adjusting parameters. It's not on any official star charts. Could be ancient, or maybe Zondar in origin. If that's the case, we'd better be careful. Reyes felt an unmistakable wave of excitement, tinged with fear. All right. We proceed with caution. Malik, take us in slowly. We'll keep a safe distance until we figure out what we're dealing with. Okoro, see if you can open hailing frequencies on the standard channels. Just in case. The atmosphere on the bridge dipped further into tense silence as the defiant dawn approached the structure. It was gradually illuminated by the Corvette's external beams, a colossal, disc-like arrangement of metal plates dotted with protrusions that could once have been docking ports or sensor arrays. The design was unlike anything they had seen before, certainly not reminiscent of Zondar architecture, which was typically sleek and diamond-shaped. This station looked old, battered, as if it had drifted aimlessly through cosmic storms for eons. Aporo tried every known frequency, but no reply emerged from the gloom. The station gave off faint electromagnetic readings, suggesting minimal power. Tiernan glanced at the captain. We could launch a probe to scout the interior. Get some readings before we dock. That's prudent, Rhea said. Prep a drone and get me a closer look. Within minutes, a small reconnaissance drone buzzed out of the Corvette's launch tube, weaving around twisted corridors of broken superstructure that extended from the station's hull. A feed of video and sensor data poured into the Corvette's monitors. Engineer Casperson arrived on the bridge from below decks. She was still wiping the grease from her calloused hands. What's the situation? We found a station, Reyes replied quietly. The drone's scanning it now. The feed displayed corridors filled with debris, shattered panels, floating scraps of some unknown alloy, fractured containment fields. The drone's cameras turned a corner to reveal strange glyphs etched into a partially intact wall. They were like geometric patterns, some spiraling, some rectangular, all arranged in a symmetrical pattern. That's not Zondar script, Ian Firm said. Casperson let out a low whistle. I've never seen anything like it. This is something else. Could it be from an extinct race? Or maybe a precursor civilization? Could be, Reyes said. The question is, what remains inside that's important enough to hide in a forbidden sector? Let's see if the drone can get deeper into the station. The probe maneuvered through tight spaces, occasionally flashing its lights on remnants of devices that defied classification. Then it arrived at a massive doorway, sealed shut, with an array of flickering lights around its perimeter. Even in the feed's resolution, the metallic door looked thick, heavily reinforced. There's still power in there, Malik noted, minimal but present. This station isn't completely dead. Captain Reyes exchanged a glance with Tiernan. The possibilities were enormous and terrifying. Perhaps this relic contained something that could end the war, or perhaps it was a tomb better left sealed. Yet the drone's data suggested a stable interior environment beyond that door. All right, Rhea said. We're going to dock and board the station. I need a landing party, Tiernan, Casperson, and a small security detail. If there's anything valuable in there, I want to find it. If there's danger, we'll handle it. I'll remain on the bridge to coordinate. Keep open comms at all times. Her words triggered a wave of silent stares. Everyone knew the risk. But the entire mission hinged on discovering what lay hidden in this deserted realm. The docking procedure was eerily quiet. The Defiant Dawn's docking clamps hissed, and they formed a tenuous seal with a battered airlock on the station's outer rim. Metal groaned as it aligned. The corridor flickered with half-measuring lights as the boarding party stepped out. They moved in pairs, scanning every angle with the rifles ready. Tiernan led, with Casperson close behind carrying a portable engineering kit. 2 Marines flanked them, each wearing reinforced suits. Tiernan tapped his helmet comm. "We're inside, Captain. Atmosphere is thin but breathable with filters. The corridor is stable for now." "Understood," came Reyes's voice. "Proceed with caution. Sensors show minimal radiation in that sector. Keep an eye out." The boarding team advanced. The station's walls bore scorch marks and bizarre scrawls that might have been graffiti or alien script. Fragmented panels flickered with stray sparks. A sense of ancient emptiness pervaded everything, but somewhere deeper inside, power still flowed. Eventually, they found a sealed blast door. Nearby controls were unresponsive, but Casperson forced them open by rigging a bypass. With a sharp hiss, the doors slid upward. They were met with a broad chamber, obviously significant because the walls and floors were far more polished. Dominating the center of the room was a ring-like structure, composed of interlocking metallic arcs studded with glowing nodes, their lights pulsating in an irregular pattern. "Is that some sort of gate?" one of the Marines asked wonderingly. "It has elements of a sophisticated device," Casperson said. "Looks like a gravitational field generator or something more exotic. Let me try to interface with it." She hurried to a panel at the base of the device. The glyphs there were more prominent, etched with care. She tapped at them, trying to interpret patterns that might correlate to known languages. The panel responded to her attempts by shifting colors, as if re-evaluating the input. "Captain, we found something." "Remarkable," Tiernan said over comms. "An active device. We're not sure what it does yet." "Any sign of this being a weapon, or a defense mechanism?" Reyes's voice was measured, yet urgent. Casperson shook her head. "It doesn't radiate typical weapon signatures. The energy field is stable, but unorthodox. The architecture suggests a transit system, or maybe a storage device for data. Hard to say." One of the Marines approached an alcove in the chamber's far corner. He stepped back with alarm. "Commander, there's something." "Bodies," he managed. Tiernan and Casperson joined him, flashlights illuminating shapes slumped against the metal walls. Skeletal remains lay clad in tattered suits that were thoroughly alien in design, long-limbed forms, elongated skulls, and 5-digit hands. They were not Zondar. These remains were from a species none of them had encountered. "Ancient," Casperson whispered. "From the decay and environment, they could have been here for centuries." Tiernan frowned. "So this station might be a relic of a once advanced race that vanished. Were they wiped out?" Reyes's voice crackled through. "Keep searching. Any sign of logs or recordings that might explain what happened." Casperson scanned the remains. She found what looked like a worn device near one body's chest. Some kind of data storage. She lifted it gently, tapping her portable translator. The small device hummed, scanning for a frequency or code. Then, unbelievably, text started blinking across her translator's screen, partially garbled but enough to piece together meaning. Shelter from unstoppable foe. Last hope. The infinity aperture, a sealed plane of existence, must not fall into their hands. Casperson read it aloud, stunned. They were running from something unstoppable and built this infinity aperture. That ring device. Possibly a gateway to another realm, or maybe it's a method to contain something. Tiernan stared at her. "You think?" Before he could finish, the ring-like structure surged with new energy, humming deep and resonant. Casperson scrambled to the console to step back or shut it off, but it continued to power up on its own. The arcs began rotating, each node flaring with an eerie orange glow. "Bridge! The device is activating!" Tiernan shouted. On the Defiant Dawn's bridge, Captain Reyes shot upright. What triggered it? "No idea," Tiernan replied. We might have run some kind of interface inadvertently. They all retreated to a safer distance as the ring's motion accelerated. Inside the circular aperture, a hazy field of shimmering light formed. The Marine who discovered the bodies aimed his rifle warily. Casperson glanced at her panel, trying to interpret an alien interface in real time. Then the shimmering field stabilized, revealing a swirl of color that almost looked like an event horizon. For an instant, darkness overcame the lights in the chamber, replaced by lines of swirling energies dancing across the station's walls. Suddenly, the field emitted a pulse that knocked everyone to the ground. Gravity flexed, as if space-time itself had just hiccuped. Moments later, everything quieted. The ring still glowed, but in a calmer, steady pattern. Casperson coughed, picking herself up. "Commander, my suit's sensors picked up a brief interdimensional distortion. The device linked somewhere, or maybe it just powered up fully." One of the Marines helped Tiernan to his feet. "Want me to toss a sensor drone into that thing, sir?" he asked, gesturing at the portal. Tiernan hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, carefully." The Marine launched a small orb that spun leisurely into the swirling vortex. It vanished. They waited. Seconds passed, then a faint signal returned. A partial video feed flickered on the Marine's wrist screen. It showed a vast chamber, not the one in which they stood. The environment looked intangible, as if it were space folded inside out. Flickers of technology lined the walls, though the vantage was shaky. The drone sensors indicated an environment with gravity and breathable air, artificially maintained. Then the feed cut off abruptly. "That's definitely a portal to somewhere else," Casperson said. "Could this be a hidden dimension storing advanced knowledge? Possibly even a path to end the war?" Tiernan relayed the news to Reyes. The captain took a moment to decide. "We didn't come this far to turn back, but we have to be systematic. Proceed through, see what you find. Maintain a tether. If we lose contact, return immediately." Bracing themselves, the team advanced toward the swirling gateway. One by one, they stepped in. The sensation was disorienting, like plunging into cold water, but without the wetness. Their vision spun and their insides twisted. Then they emerged, stumbling into a vast hall of shimmering surfaces. Strange pillars extended into a cathedral-like ceiling. Illuminated lines scrawled across the walls, forming patterns reminiscent of code. Malik's voice came through Tiernan's comm from the corvette. "We're receiving feed, Commander. We've never seen anything like this." Tiernan pressed his communicator. "We're inside, Captain. Seems stable so far." Casperson moved toward one of the pillars, running a handheld scanner carefully over the inscriptions. Her eyes widened. "I'm reading enormous amounts of data layered in quantum entanglements. This entire chamber might be a data vault beyond anything we could imagine. If this belongs to a species that once fled an unstoppable foe, they might have left records of advanced technology, maybe even a weapon, or a means of forging peace." As she said it, a faint glow spread across the pillar's surface, pulsing in response to her presence. She took a breath and placed her hand on the alien panel. The patterns shifted rapidly. For a moment, her eyes rolled back as the translator tried to process a flood of input. She yanked her hand away, gasping. "Casperson!" Tiernan rushed forward. "You all right?" She pressed a hand to her forehead. "I'm okay, just..." That was intense. Like the archives were trying to share information telepathically. "I couldn't handle it all at once. Bridge, this place might hold more knowledge than our entire civilization," Tiernan radioed. "But it requires a unique interface. Seems rifling through the archives by force might be dangerous." Reyes's voice came back, thick with tension. "I see. Don't overdo it, Commander. We'll come up with a plan. This is our best lead yet. It has to be handled carefully. Meanwhile, keep an eye out for security measures." While one Marine monitored the gateway, the other accompanied Tiernan and Casperson deeper into the hall. They found an alcove that contained a central console. Illuminated glyphs danced across it in mesmerizing patterns. Casperson knelt, hooking up a specialized neural interface that had been designed by human scientists for bridging unknown technology. She activated it cautiously, letting the translator parse each alien symbol. Over the next hour, fragments of knowledge began to surface. Star charts, references to advanced physics, warnings about a cosmic adversary. There were glimpses of what made the station's creators flee. Tiernan's every question brought another partial answer. The unstoppable foe was not the Zondar, but something else. A race or entity that consumed entire star systems. The ancient species apparently found no way to stop them, only to hide from them. They created the infinity aperture as a final refuge, or data vault. If they hid from a devourer of star systems, Tiernan muttered, stepping away from the console, then the conflict we're locked in might be nothing by comparison. But maybe some of this knowledge can be adapted to defeat the Zondar, or at least force them into a stalemate. A sudden wave of flickering lights washed across the hall. A door slid open at the far end, revealing a smaller chamber. Something within glowed with a concentrated brilliance. The team advanced carefully, the Marine taking point. Inside, they discovered a pedestal supporting a crystalline structure the size of an infant's head. Light refracted through it, casting prismatic rainbows on the walls. Casperson's scanner beeped loudly. This is highly unusual. The crystal lattice inside is beyond anything humans can manufacture. It might store or generate infinite power, or house an advanced AI. This could be the key. Tiernan approached gingerly. Or a trap. But we can't ignore it. No sooner had Casperson placed a gentle hand on the crystal than alarms echoed through the corridor. The entire dimension seemed to flicker, as if reality was losing stability. A disembodied voice filled the air, vibrating in a language that the translator struggled to transcribe. "Intruders, are you the devourers or their thralls? This place is sealed." Tiernan carefully responded, "We are humans. We're fighting a war, but not with you. We come seeking help." A beam of swirling light shimmered like a spotlight over them. The voice remained intangible, more presence than sound. "You carry the stench of conflict, yet your intention is uncertain. This refuge was constructed to protect knowledge, not to deliver it to warmongers." Casperson's eyes narrowed, working the translator. "We're not warmongers. Our species is threatened, and we want to end the bloodshed. If you have knowledge that can help, please share it." Silence followed. Then, the presence whispered, "If you seek peace, you must harness unity. Return with this crystal. Use it as a lens to channel understanding. Only then can you open gates that remain locked." No further words came. The pedestal's glow softened. Casperson clutched the crystal, feeling a faint warmth. The Marines exchanged uneasy glances, but Tiernan nodded. "We'll bring it back. We can't pass up this chance." The team retraced their steps, crystal in hand. Returning through the swirling gateway, they found themselves back in the battered station chamber. The ring powered down as though exhausted, the arcs slowly grinding to rest. They were left with a silent question. What did this artifact actually do? And how could it help humanity? Once back on the Defiant Dawn, they analyzed the crystal extensively. Casperson determined it was a sort of universal translator, or advanced mediator, that could interface with various forms of technology and possibly consciousness as well. It could project illusions or shape intent, bridging minds if used correctly. Captain Reyes sat in her quarters with Tiernan, Casperson, and a few others, reviewing all the data. The sense of possibility was immense. If this can help us communicate with the Zondar in a more profound way, perhaps we can end the war without further massacres, Reyes said. Casperson nodded. Or if that fails, there might be a way to integrate the crystal with our strategic AI to tip the balance. But it was pretty explicit about seeking peace. We should consider the first option carefully. Acting swiftly, Reyes and her crew prepared to send a coded message to High Command. Their mission parameters had been to gather information that might change the war's course. However, complications emerged. Discovery of the station and the aperture was unbelievably valuable. Intelligence agencies within the Alliance might want to exploit the crystal's suspected power to crush the Zondar, rather than negotiating. At the same time, the Zondar themselves might have an interest in similar artifacts, possibly fueling further escalation. When the Defiant Dawn left the Forbidden Sector, battered but triumphant, they found themselves in contested space. A Zondar patrol frigate patrolled the region. Seeing the corvette, it gave chase. The Dawn's smaller frame allowed it to evade the immediate assault, but a second Zondar interceptor emerged, boxing them in. "They're powering weapons," Tiernan announced, his voice tight. "We can't outrun them for long." Captain Reyes gritted her teeth. "Zondar have never shown mercy, but we have a new asset. Casperson, can we interface the crystal with our comm array to broadcast a signal or induction wave? Something to get them to cease fire?" Casperson's uncertainty showed, but she nodded. "It's worth a shot." She rushed to engineering, hooking the crystal into the corvette's system. She improvised a makeshift harness that would pulse a telepathic or empathic signal. Within moments, a faint glow emanated from the comm console. On the main view screen, the Zondar frigate's approach slowed. The second interceptor also paused. "They're scanning us," Okoro said, stunned. "It's like they heard something. Another volley of weapons is charging, though." Captain Reyes stood. "Broadcast across all frequencies. We come to negotiate. We seek an end to hostilities. We have a means to communicate. We are not your enemy." Her words repeated in an automated cycle, amplified by the crystal's intangible effect. A tense moment passed. Then, flickers of light scrolled across the console. The Zondar responded in short bursts, a pattern that the translator deciphered haltingly. "Human vessel, unidentified energy signature recognized, uncertain. Hold your fire. We are prepared to communicate." No one on the Defiant Dawn had ever heard the Zondar speak in a conciliatory tone, yet here it was, something akin to caution or curiosity. As the corvette maintained position, the Zondar frigate approached, clearly scanning for any trick. The crystal glowed fiercely, as if bridging minds in real time. Okoro fed the translator partial segments. "They want to know what we are. They sense a power, not from us, but from beyond. They want to talk. Are we sure we can trust them?" Reyes's voice was resolute, too. "No, but we must try." For the next hour, an unprecedented exchange took place. The crystal's empathic field boosted comprehension on both sides, forging a channel that overcame the Zondar's notoriously complex syntax. The dialogue was halting, difficult, but no shots were exchanged. Summaries from the translator showed questions about the relic, about the ancient species that built the infinity aperture, about whether humanity's claims of wanting peace were genuine. Race responded with honesty. Descriptions of decades of war, the staggering toll on both sides, and a fervent desire for a truce. Finally, the Zondar indicated they would cease hostilities long enough to consider what had been shared. They severed the connection, though not before sending coordinates for a potential meeting site on neutral ground. The frigate and interceptor then slipped back into faster-than-light silhouette. On the bridge, the human crew erupted in subdued celebration. For the first time in living memory, a direct conversation with the Zondar had occurred without violence. Tiernan exhaled. "We actually did it?" Casperson cradled the crystal carefully. "This is bigger than any victory in battle. It proves there's a path forward." Reyes placed a hand on the console, gazing at the swirling dust outside. Within her chest bloomed a cautious hope. They still had to navigate political obstacles, old vendettas, and the unpredictable nature of war. But the relic and the knowledge gleaned from that hidden station in the Forbidden Sector were game-changing. It was more than just a new weapon or advanced technology. It was a key to bridging the gulf between warring minds, remembered the station's dire warnings of an ancient, far more dangerous threat that once forced an entire civilization to abandon the galaxy. The Zondar might not even be aware of that cosmic menace. Perhaps forging peace between humans and Zondar was not only desirable, but necessary for a united stand against what might someday return. In the days that followed, the Defiant Dawn transmitted official reports to the highest authorities in humanity's coalition. They attached holologs, sensor readouts, and the novel approach that allowed them to communicate with the Zondar. A wave of shock and disbelief spread through the ranks. Some hawkish admirals doubted it would lead anywhere. Others seized upon the chance to explore new negotiations. Political tensions skyrocketed, but Reyes and her crew continued to advocate for the crystal's role as a means to unify, not to conquer. Meanwhile, coded signals from Zondar enclaves indicated a similar tumult. Hardline factions demanded the war continue, but new voices, newly informed by the empathic communications, sought to learn more. Eventually, a meeting was proposed aboard a neutral starbase on the edge of contested territory. Captain Reyes traveled with a diplomatic contingent, while the crystal secured in a specialized case remained in Casperson's care. On arrival, a Zondar delegation emerged from their frigate, tall and imposing, their expressionless face masks reflecting starlight. Humanity's diplomats stepped forward. With the crystal between them, a sense of measured calm overshadowed the tension. Each side explained their grievances, their fears. The device relayed layered meanings that overcame linguistic barriers. Hours passed. As negotiations continued, baby steps toward trust. Neither side surrendered everything, but for the first time, real mutual understanding blossomed. Those earliest talks did not halt all hostilities overnight. Skirmishes flared in remote sectors, and not everyone accepted the turn in diplomacy. But it started a new era, one in which discussion took precedence over reflexive aggression. Over the following months, the coalition quietly established technology-sharing protocols, with a fraction of the crystal's interface processes offered to the Zondar in exchange for their own advanced knowledge. Joint exploration missions ventured to the station, verifying its wonders. The infinity aperture and its data trove became a shared asset rather than a wellspring of new conflict. Captain Reyes often lay awake at night, astonished at how swiftly things could change. One moment, the war was unwinnable. The next, an ancient relic discovered in a forbidden sector had opened doors everyone assumed were sealed forever. When doubt plagued her, she would slip down to the engineering bay, where Casperson maintained the crystal. She would stand close, feeling its soft glow, almost hearing the faint echoes of that ancient race, whispering, "Use this knowledge to find peace where none seemed possible." Within a year, the Coalition and the Zondar Empire signed a preliminary truce. Bitterness lingered, but official conflict paused for the first time in decades. Fleets once poised to annihilate each other began returning to their home docks. Families separated by war found hope for reunion. Diplomats pushed for a lasting solution, citing the cosmic threat that once drove the Aperture's creators to abandon entire worlds. One day, that same threat might reemerge. Only a united galaxy could hope to oppose it. Word spread of Captain Reyes and her solitary corvette that risked everything to breach forbidden space in search of a rumor. There were those who called her foolhardy, those who called her brave. Either way, she had been prepared to face unimaginable danger for a sliver of possibility. That sliver had become the turning point in a conflict deemed unwinnable by both sides. As for the infinity aperture, it remained a phenomenon beyond full comprehension, a testament to knowledge surpassing the bounds of present-day science. Study teams from both Humanity's Coalition and the Zondar examined it. They found references to star-eating entities, distortions in space-time, lost technologies, and repeated reminders that unity is power beyond measure. Slowly, the memory of the war began to fade. It did not vanish overnight, nor was every wound healed. But each passing day, with fewer casualties and more conversations, reinforced the path forward. The threat of extinction had forced once divided peoples to approach each other with honest hearts and shared goals. In that sense, the Aperture's cryptic instructions had been prophetic. Lastly, the Defiant Dawn herself entered the annals of history as a legendary ship, battered from 1,000 skirmishes, yet triumphant in fulfilling her mission. Captain Miriam Reyes was hailed not as a conqueror, but as a catalyst for change. She never forgot the uncertain hours spent searching a derelict station among cosmic dust. She never forgot the toll the war had taken, the cost measured in countless lives. Yet she could finally imagine a future for her daughter, a future where she might not have to grow up in the endless shadow of conflict. So long as the crystal's glow persisted and the lessons of the infinity aperture were heeded, the galaxy might remain united in its pursuit of cooperative exploration. And in the silent halls of that hidden dimension, the lingering spirits of an ancient race might rest more easily, knowing their last gift had helped break a cycle of war. Humanity, together with their former rivals, now strode toward a horizon of possibilities, once dismissed as impossible, forging alliances to stand against any new foes, and ensuring that, in the end, one secret discovered by a lone ship truly could alter the fate of countless worlds.